Welcome back, guys. We are back with another team for you. Bear in mind the hashtag ProtoPlay if you are sharing the live stream to give some amazing developers some well-deserved exposure for their hard work and in the recent weeks, months, however long it took them to make their projects. And any links you see below, you can also access them through the panels below. You know the drill by now. Let's get into our next team, which is Incursion Games. And yeah, excited to see what they got for us in store. Hello, hello. It seems we might have to wait for.
Hello.
Oh, hi there.
Hi, you alright?
Yeah, I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. I can hear you now.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, let's get started. So, would you like to introduce yourself, your game, and your team? In whichever order you want.
So we're Incursion Games. My name is Ryan. I'm the team leader, and our game is Lateral Labs. It is a logic puzzle game in which you must guide our trainee robot Drew, that stands for Dispensing and Retrieval Unit, through a series of lab tests that involve pushing blocks onto the target tiles.
I see. Very nice, nice and to the point. So, Ryan, let me tell you. Can you tell me? Can you tell me about the genre of your game? It seems like a puzzle game, of course.
Yeah, it's very much a puzzle game through and through. We wanted to sprinkle in some light theme and story into it, but it's very much about the way that the block interacts with these obstacles that you see on screen, and the mechanic of getting around the grid and firing and retracting the blocks from the right direction.
I see. Awesome. What was your inspiration to take this project on?
I would say originally it was Minecraft and not Minecraft, Minesweeper and
Minecraft. Sorry, so I have to stop you there. That's
no.
The project went a long way.
Yeah. Minesweeper
Okay.
and P-Cross, which are very much simple puzzle games. We wanted to have something similar where you had kind of numeric information that told you where things are that you need to access. But as the project evolved, it got a bit more complicated. We introduced new obstacles, and it's kind of just become a thing of its own.
I see. Awesome. Great stuff. So, when did you actually start developing the game? How long did it take you to get to where you are at the moment?
So it's about this time last year that we began development of the first ever prototype. It began as a university project with 4 people working on it, not all currently on the team at the minute. And as it developed through the university process, we heard about Transfuser. We thought that'd be a great opportunity to help take this game further and make it into something that we can consider releasing and could be like truly proud of.
I see. Awesome. So, did your development, you mentioned it sort of originated from university, right? How did enrolling onto Transfuser and taking part in ProtoPlay affect it? Or did it affect it in any way?
It has affected massively. The Transfuser has given us the opportunity to make this game into something more than just a passion project. It's something that we are now considering releasing on Steam and the App Store and Android Google Play Store sometime in 2021, and that's a large part thanks to the budget allocated to us by Transfuser and the guidance of our facilitator Rory.
I see. Awesome. Some shout outs there. Thanks to those guys. What about the community, the professional community? You mentioned they helped to allocate a lot of stuff and certainly helped to guide you, but how heavily did the community itself actually influence the development and some design choices of the game?
So is that the community of Transfuser you mean? Or
yes.
People who've tested the game?
We'll get to the players later.
Yeah. Excellent. I think the big part has been seeing everyone else's work from Transfuser and being inspired. There's a lot of really good games on display this year, and it's helped us kind of recognize the faults in our games, what we can do to be better and be more like the other games presented here.
I see. Awesome. We had a question about the name of the robot in the chat, but it's been explained by one of your team members, I believe. So it's DRU, which stands for Dispensing and Retrieval Unit.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm not sure if
he doesn't do much else.
He's great at what he does. You know what? That reminds me of actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this was your inspiration, but the movie WALL-E had a very similar looking robot.
Yeah, so WALL-E has come up a couple times actually.
Really?
Even in like the very beginning, when I first pitched the game, it was going to be like the little cubes of rubbish that have been collected up. That WALL-E walks around with. Yeah, so yeah, WALL-E's had quite an inspiration on this game.
Awesome. I mean, it's interesting to see how you made it into your idea, though. So it's very cool. About the puzzles, I think they get. I mean, you would obviously expect them to get more and more difficult as the player goes along. But how many mechanics are we looking at right now in the game at the moment?
So I believe there are 7 unique obstacles, and they all interact with each other in different ways. And of course, you can both fire the block into the obstacle, or you can retract it over it, which will cause certain different behaviors. But it's definitely not the end. We are fully intending to work with some new obstacles, some new mechanics, and see what works, see what helps us create some really good brain teasers.
I see. Is the player able to remove the blocks that are placed? I think the DRU just did that on the screen.
Yeah, so the only way to get blocks off of the grid is to pull them towards the edge.
I see. Okay. Are there ways of almost like failing at the puzzle to the point where you actually have to restart it because you have to make every move perfectly, or is that mechanic of pulling the blocks back
that can definitely happen.
Focused on?
It's something that can definitely happen. You can get a block in a place where it can no longer be accessed, and for that reason, we do have a reset button. But whenever we design levels, we always try to avoid those kind of situations. We try to give multiple approaches available to the player that mean that the player's not trapped constantly and loses their progress over and over and becomes frustrated with the level.
I see. We are seeing the levels increase in size as well. Is that something that happens as the player progresses?
So we found that sometimes you can make a really difficult and convoluted level on a very small grid, and you can make very simple levels on a big grid. It allows, for some variation, and the game does feature a level editor, which means players will have the option to create their own levels and choose what size works for them.
I see. Someone is just asking in the chat, what happens if you throw a box clear across the grid?
It is returned straight to you. One thing we are working on implementing is when the block reaches the edge of the grid, there will be some kind of animation to show kind of disintegrate, and it'll be re-added to your stock counter. I
see. So you do have a stock. There is a limited amount of blocks you have to work with, right? As a limitation, as we can see in the bottom left corner.
Yeah, excellent.
So there is also a certain amount of targets you have to hit. Is there any other objectives appearing in the game, or are the targets just the main goal of the game and there is focus on obstacles more than the different targets?
So for each level, we have a par time and a par score. Par move score. So a move is anytime a block is fired or retracted, that counts as a move. The time taken is also measured, and it'll be compared against other people's scores to see how other people did in the level compared to you.
I see. Awesome. That's very cool. Now, on something that you almost touched on was the player's feedback itself. you were going to talk about it, but I kind of stopped you, so we can now kind of go back to, well, how was the players' feedback?
Player feedback has been really good. Even when it was a university project, we found out quite quickly that although it all makes sense to us, it doesn't always click for other people. Obviously, it's frustrating as a developer because we spend so much time with it. It's so intuitive to us, and then you hand it to someone who's never seen the game before, and well, obviously there's something about the game that that isn't being communicated effectively. So the best feedback we've got is how to improve player. As how to give the player more information with stuff like tutorials, simplifying the levels so they get a chance to work with the obstacles on a very basic level before introducing them to obstacles in combination kind of thing.
I see. I'm not sure if you mentioned Minesweeper throughout our conversation.
Yeah, it was one of the original inspirations for the game.
Well, that makes me think, is there any RNG aspect to these levels where you might find out that something appears if you try to send a box in a certain lane?
So currently there are no random elements. If you know how to complete a level, then you can execute it perfectly every time. However, one obstacle we are considering is some kind of moving block that moves independently that could maybe, help push your blocks, but also get in the way or prevent you from keeping a block in a place that you like. So there might be some more random elements introduced in the future.
I see. That's awesome. Awesome to hear. Yeah, we had some question, but it's been answered by one of your team members. But if you want to maybe expand on that, and if you would be looking to do something like different things besides the ball and the box, or ones that have special abilities, perhaps.
Could you explain that a little further?
So I believe they are asking about the boxes that you actually shoot out. So your stock. Would you be looking to make the stock have different abilities almost?
So one object we have is the key block, which opens the lock block, of course.
Of course.
So you can retract that key towards you, or we might start a player off with a key in their stock counter. That then be fired out, and it interacts with the obstacles in the same way. Something we have considered is making different types of blocks that maybe interact with obstacles in different ways, so aren't affected by obstacles or have a reverse effect of some kind, and then experimenting and seeing what really works is some of our next steps.
I see. Cool. Are you, as a team, planning to really going all in on this game, or is there other things you got in plans in store for your studio?
We're definitely excited to see what comes after Lateral Labs, but for now it is our number one priority. We're hoping to get the game ready for release in the first quarter of 2021.
First quarter 2021.
Yeah. Maybe it's ambitious, but we'd quite like to get this wrapped up, fine-tune things, get it tested, and get it ready for release, and start moving on to some new projects.
I see. So, do you have what are the milestones apart from wanting to release it in a certain period of time? Do you have like any specific milestone in terms of content, like some big feature you would be looking to implement if you were to spend more time on the development?
So currently we have the level editor, which you're seeing on screen at the moment, and we really want to take that further. We want to introduce the ability for players to browse each other's levels and play them and favorite them, recommend them to others, and build a small community of level creators who are helping create the content for the game themselves. As it would mean that there would constantly be new ideas, things that we as a development team have never thought of, but maybe some genius player out there has realized, oh, you can interact with this obstacle in this way, and we're really excited to see that happen.
I see. Yes, certainly. I mean, communities can have a huge impact on games, even more so on games that include level editors, where player has the freedom of creating the game they want in your game, essentially,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's definitely super handy. Is there anything else you would like to touch on? Is there anything you would like to share about the game that we haven't discussed yet?
So you can see in the top right, we do have a link to our Discord within the game. We've also posted that in the ProtoPlay channels. You can visit that for a few announcements. There's a quick plug for you. And other than that, we have a few other features in mind. Currently, you see the kind of the lab aesthetic surrounding the playing field. We're looking to expand upon that somewhat. Maybe create a story by having Drew slowly descend through the testing facility and find areas that are maybe smothered in moss, kind of jungle themed, or maybe so close to Earth's core that there's lava and fire everywhere, and we can help build new obstacles around those themes. So that's probably the big thing we've got planned for the future.
I see, cool. Well, it seems you are definitely thinking ahead, which is good. Some questions from myself for you. How difficult is it in puzzle game, right, to develop all these puzzles and keep them creative and engaging to the player, so they are not repetitive?
So my personal level design process, I guess you could say, is to pick a few key obstacles and center the level around those, and that helps keep levels refreshing because you don't choose the same obstacles every time. You can build new things, and you can find out how each of the obstacles works with each other. So I think it's definitely difficult at times to keep creating levels, especially when you've created so many in a row. It can feel like you're almost burnt out, but I think there's a lot of potential for so many different levels here. You can have maze levels where you've got to direct the block through a maze and use buttons to open paths and stuff. There is some really cool stuff you can do with the level editor. I think having the level editor is what allows us to keep churning out levels and test something that maybe won't work but will be a valuable learning experience.
I see. Awesome. Great to hear. Someone mentioned earlier, would you be considering giving skins to your robot?
Yeah, it's something we've definitely considered. Nothing concrete yet now, but obviously if we were going to work on a mobile version, then typically there's a lot of customization involved in there because the games are often cheaper. So maybe some DLC content, some bling for Drew. But yeah, it's definitely something we've considered and are looking into.
I see. Cool. Right. In terms of your socials, there is the Twitter handle in the chat. If you go into our Discord, so below in the panel, scroll down, click on the Discord invite. In the Discord, you'll have a chance to speak to the developers themselves if you want to pick their brains a bit with any questions. And yeah, I'm not sure. Do you want to give any shoutouts to your team?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to thank Lewis for his wizard level coding, Jim for saving me the hassle of doing all the art myself. He's been a valuable team member. Joe for his programming and various miscellaneous tasks. He's always happy to pick up any leftover tasks that don't have a dedicated team role. Rory, our facilitator, for guidance. And just everyone at Transfuser, both participants and staff, for giving us the opportunity to work on the game and for releasing some really amazing games this year.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for the interview, Ryan. And yeah, I'm wishing you best of luck with your project. Puzzle games is not something I engaged in too much, but I'm always interested to see sort of the reasoning behind the puzzle development and stuff. So I appreciate your insight to your game. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Thank you so much.
You too, mate. Take care.
Bum, bum, bum.